Yes, even the most brutal deaths can be painless, and one huge example is the Byford incident. In a deep-sea adventure gone wrong, a group of divers met with an accident so scary that it took their lives in a split second without them even feeling pain. Get ready for the 9 most brutal painless deaths in history that you didn't know. In today's video, we're going to explore how these deaths happened and what the victims potentially felt or didn't at all. Number 9. Christiane and Robert carbon monoxide intoxication.
It was a happy and relaxed family holiday that ended in the most awful of circumstances. It was primarily to blame, but that Thomas Cook Holidays breached its duty of care with an inadequate health and safety audit of the complex. Bobby and Christie's mother says it feels as if their children's lives are worth only a fraction of Thomas Cook's reputation. The travel firm were legally entitled to the payout.
No one has ever heard good things about carbon monoxide, and rightly so. What good has it done to anyone? None. It is like this invisible monster that sneaks up on you when you least expect it. And sadly, 2 kids, Christiane and Robert Shepard, found out just how dangerous it could be in the worst way possible. What happened next is a story that really makes you shiver. Christiane and Robert were on a holiday, supposed to be having the time of their lives. You know, the kind of vacation where every day is an adventure, and every night is for dreaming about what is next. But one night, things took a turn for the tragic. They went to bed in their holiday spot, not knowing that a silent danger was lurking in their room. A heating appliance, which was supposed to keep them warm, was actually leaking carbon monoxide. This gas is sneaky. You can't see it, smell it, or taste it. It's like a ghost, but when it is around, it is deadly. Carbon monoxide messes with your blood in a way that it stops your body from using oxygen. It's like being suffocated, but you don't even know it's happening. That night, Christiane and Robert went to sleep and, heartbreakingly, they never woke up. Can you imagine what they must have been feeling? I'll reveal it in a second. The truth is, they probably didn't feel anything. And in a way, that is the only small comfort in this whole sad story. And now you can't miss the deadly fact that I'm about to tell you. The aftermath was a wake-up call for everyone. The investigation showed that the heater in their room wasn't working right, and it was letting out carbon monoxide. It was a brutal reminder that we have got to check our appliances and make sure our places are safe. Their story is a tough one to tell, but it is important. It is a reminder of how dangerous carbon monoxide can be and why we need to be careful. We have got to make sure our heaters are okay, get those carbon monoxide detectors in our homes, and keep an eye out for the warning signs of poisoning. Losing Christiane and Robert was a tragedy, a real heartbreaker, but by sharing their story, we can spread the word about carbon monoxide and how to stay safe. If this story got you thinking about it, share it. Knowing about the danger is the first step in protecting ourselves and the people we love. Stay tuned, because what is coming next will shock you to the core. Number 8. Young man died during gym workout. Gyms are all about getting fit and healthy, right? They're the last place you would expect something really scary to happen. But get ready for a story that is going to shock you. This isn't just any painless death story. It is about a young 19-year-old guy who was just doing his thing, working out on a treadmill, when suddenly, out of nowhere, he collapses and never gets back up. This tragic event opens up a whole can of worms about the dangers lurking in places we consider safe. But how can it actually happen? I'll explain it in a minute. This young man named Siddharth Kumar Singh was just like any of us. He was trying to stay healthy by hitting the gym in Ghaziabad's Kota neighborhood. Everything seemed normal until it wasn't. After he collapsed, people at the gym rushed him to the hospital. But it was too late. The doctor said he was already gone. This kind of news is the stuff of nightmares because it makes you wonder what he must have felt. Or what if I say he didn't feel anything at all. One moment, he was pumping up his heart rate, and the next, his heart just stopped. I know what you're thinking. That's unbelievable, and you're not wrong. The thing is, sudden deaths in gyms, though rare, do happen, and they leave us with more questions than answers. The doctors pointed out a few things that could lead to such a tragic end, and the pieces started to fall into place. Overexercising is one big red flag, and that is what this young boy was doing. Pushing your limits is cool and all, but there's a thin line between being fit and putting your heart at risk. Then, there's the whole deal with nutritional supplements and protein shakes. Sure, they're supposed to help you get those gains, but too much of a good thing can be bad, especially for your heart. And it is not just the young and fit who need to watch out. Even if you've got youth on your side, it doesn't mean you're immune to heart problems. Some people have hidden heart issues they don't even know about that make intense workouts a risky business. Plus, let's not forget about the diet fads and smoking before hitting the gym. All these factors can mess with your heart in ways you wouldn't expect. Always listen to your body. If something feels off while working out, it's better to stop right there than push yourself to the extreme limit. Because, at the end of the day, staying safe is the best way to stay healthy. Number 7. Laotian Hmong sleep deaths. Next up is another brutal, painless death in history that will keep you awake at night. Have you ever seen that super scary movie, Nightmare on Elm Street, where the creepy Freddy Krueger haunts people's dreams and, well, it doesn't end well for them when they fall asleep? The writer of the movie got the idea from something that wasn't just made up for scares. It is actually based on a real-life horror story that happened to refugees from the Cambodian genocide. Well, more about that later. But can you imagine being so scared to fall asleep because you think something awful will happen to you in your dreams, and then it actually does? And can I be completely honest with you? That is what happened with these people. Okay, so after the Vietnam War, a bunch of folks from Laos, called the Hmong people, had to leave their homes and move to the US. They were running away from all the terrible stuff happening back in their country. But when they got to the US, something really weird and scary started happening. Healthy, young men were suddenly dying in their sleep. No warning, no sickness, just going to bed and not waking up. You won't believe what happened next, but this started happening a lot. But there's a catch. Even the doctors were stumped. They couldn't figure out why these young guys, who seemed perfectly fine, were just dying out of the blue without any pain. The Hmong folks believed it was something supernatural, like evil spirits from their homeland following them to the US and attacking them in their sleep. Can you imagine how terrifying that would be? Going to sleep, not knowing if you're going to wake up because of some nightmare monster you think is after you? This whole thing was so bizarre and frightening that it caught the attention of the guy who wrote Nightmare on Elm Street. He read about a refugee kid from Cambodia who was literally scared to sleep. The kid thought if he fell asleep, he'd be attacked in his dreams and never wake up. His parents thought he was finally getting over his fear when he started sleeping again. But then, one night, they heard him screaming, and by the time they got to him, it was too late. I know you're thinking of it like something straight out of a horror movie, but it was real life for these people. The story of the Hmong sleep deaths is one of the most chilling and sad mysteries. It is a reminder of how the mind and body can react to extreme stress and trauma in ways we can't always understand or predict. So next time you watch Nightmare on Elm Street, remember the real-life inspiration behind it. It is a tragic tale of how the horrors of war and displacement followed these refugees all the way to their new homes and turn their dreams into nightmares. Sometimes the scariest stories are the ones that are true. Stick with us till the end because the upcoming videos are something you don't want to miss out. Number 6. Salem and Ayan car suffocation. Do you know that inhaling carbon monoxide slowly takes your breath away? This heart-wrenching incident happened in Uttar Pradesh's Badaun district, which serves as a stark reminder of the dangers that can lurk in everyday situations. But first, beware. This story is about two young boys, both aged 5, named Salim and Ayan, who found themselves in a hazardous situation that led to one of the most silent yet brutal tragedies. I know your mind is full of questions. Don't worry, mine was too. Let me explain exactly what happened. It was a casual evening where kids were playing outside, the laughter and chatter filling the air. Salim and Ayan were among them and enjoying their playtime just like any other day. But then, in a twist that no one could have predicted, they went missing. What happened next was something extremely hard to grasp. As the evening turned into night and the boys didn't return home, panic set in. Their family got frantic with worry and started searching everywhere. They even got to the local mosque to announce on loudspeakers with the hope of any information about their whereabouts. The entire village of Bwanipur Keru, under Sahaswan Kotwali Police Station's jurisdiction, became the site of a desperate search. Can you imagine what the family must have been feeling during those hours? I'll reveal it in a second. The twist in the story came when a family member noticed the hand of a child on the window of a parked Scorpio car right outside their house. The car had curtains on its windows that were hiding the tragic scene inside. What was discovered next was unimaginable. The boys were found lying unconscious inside the car by having accidentally locked themselves in. Despite the immediate rush to the hospital, it was too late. Salim and Ayan were declared dead, victims of suffocation. This incident shares the silent and unseen danger aspect, and the scariest part is that you don't feel pain. The tragedy of Salim and Ayan is a brutal reminder of how quickly things can turn fatal, especially for the young and innocent. It underscores the importance of always being vigilant and aware of the environments where children play. As we reflect on this story, it is a chilling reminder to all of us about the importance of safety in everyday situations. Let's keep the conversation going in the comments below. What measures do you think could prevent such tragedies in the future? Number 5. Senginyid Colliery Disaster.
They were here, our God.
Now this one is gonna blow your mind. Have you ever noticed how there's something off about mines? Like when you go inside, there's always this eerie feeling, but these miners are built differently because they work there every day. However, unfortunately, one day for them was not normal at all. So let me tell you about this one time in 1913 in a place called Senghenydd in South Wales. The miners were just doing their thing, deep down in the Universal Colliery, about 2,000 feet under the earth. It was just another day, until it wasn't. At 8:10 in the morning, something terrible happened. A spark from an electric bell met a deadly mix of methane gas and coal dust, and boom, a massive explosion happened. This wasn't just any explosion, it was huge, and it changed everything. This explosion was the worst of its kind in Britain ever. It took the lives of 439 men and boys, and another guy died trying to save them. It's still the most tragic thing that has happened in British mining, and it's up there as one of the worst in the whole world. But you know what is crazy? This kind of thing happened a lot in South Wales back then. It was known for being super dangerous, but it was painless for them since they died in an instant. Not far from Senghenydd, another mine had blown up years before, killing 290 miners, and the Universal Colliery itself had already seen disaster in 1901, where 81 miners didn't make it out. Can you imagine going to work every day knowing that? It's wild. The 1913 disaster didn't just take lives, it tore apart the whole community. Imagine, over 542 kids had no dad anymore, and more than 200 women had to figure out life without their husbands. Want to know the worst part? The youngest ones who died were just 14. That's like freshman year of high school. One church in the village lost 60% of its guys. The sadness wasn't just in Senghenydd though. It spread to nearby places and even reached Cardiff. Now, after something that big, you'd expect some serious consequences, right? But here's the kicker. The investigation kind of felt like a slap in the face. They called it an accidental death. The mine's boss in the company got in a bit of trouble, but most of it didn't stick. They ended up paying fines that were basically pocket change per miner's life. That is just not right. But there's more to the story. Even after all that, the mine was up and running again a few weeks later and stayed open until 1928. It took until the 100th anniversary in 2013 to get a proper memorial up to remember those who were lost in the Senghenydd and other mining disasters in Wales. This story might not be well known outside of Wales, but it is a huge reminder of how dangerous mining used to be and still can be. It's about loss, not getting the justice deserved, and a community that, despite everything, never forgot. What do you think about the Senghenydd colliery disaster? Do you think this was the most brutal and painless death in history or not? Stay tuned because you don't want to miss out on what is coming next. Number 4. Ashley Long helium inhalation.
We believe that she ingested this helium from a tank and then seconds later collapsed, and she never regained consciousness after that. It's very unusual for somebody to die in this manner, but it has happened.
Now this story is just extremely shocking and super sad. It is about a young girl, Ashley Long, who was just 14 years old. This story isn't like the ones you hear often. It is a real-life reminder of how what seems like fun can turn dangerous real quick. So sit tight, because this story will leave you shocked. Ashley thought she was going to have a blast at a sleepover, but instead, she ended up at a party that had way more than just pizza and movies. We're talking about a condo in Medford, Oregon, back in 2012, where the vibe was anything but ordinary. There was alcohol, marijuana, and something you would not expect at a party: helium. Yeah, the same stuff that fills up balloons and makes your voice sound all squeaky. What will unfold next is honestly pretty hard to wrap your head around, and I'll reveal that in a minute. During the party, a helium tank started making the rounds. It's pretty common to see people sucking in helium from balloons for a laugh because of the funny voice it gives you, but not many people know how risky it can be, especially when it's coming from a pressurized tank. We can't even begin to describe what went down with Ashley. She felt the pressure from her friends to give it a try, even though she wasn't feeling it. They told her, "It's cool, it won't hurt, it'll just make you giggle and sound hilarious." But things didn't go as planned. Right after Ashley inhaled the helium, she passed out. Yup, she passed out in an instant. Imagine the panic that must have hit everyone. 1 second, they're all laughing, and the next, it's complete chaos. Ashley's best buddy, Marina Zamora, jumped into action and tried CPR, while others dialed 911. But despite their efforts, Ashley never woke up. She later died in the hospital because the helium caused an embolism, a blockage, cutting off oxygen to her brain. Can you even imagine what that moment was like? A night that was supposed to be filled with fun turned into a total nightmare. Ashley, who had not really partied before, found herself in a situation that was way out of her league. The whole helium huffing thing, while it seems harmless, turned out to be deadly. When you inhale helium from a tank like that, it can seriously harm you. It can stop oxygen from getting to your brain, pretty much like being strangled. And if you take it straight from the tank, it could really hurt your lungs or even cause a stroke by creating a bubble in your bloodstream. Ashley's story is a tough reminder that messing around with stuff like helium, even if it's just for kicks, can have serious consequences. Her family was left heartbroken, and they have started a foundation called Ashley's Hope to warn others about the dangers of helium inhalation. This isn't just a brutal and painless death story. It's a wake-up call for everyone to look out for each other and to think twice before giving in to peer pressure. What do you think about what happened to Ashley? How can we help spread the word to make sure this does not happen to someone else? Number 3. Matthias Sindelar carbon monoxide death. Are you still not over Christiane and Robert's carbon monoxide intoxication? Because next up is another terrible yet painless death that this deadly gas caused. And this is not about some common person, but about… wait, I'll reveal that shortly. I'm here to tell you a tragic death story about the mysterious death of a football legend and his girlfriend. A story that has been whispered through the annals of sports history. It's about Matthias Sindelar, also known as the Paperman, for his slender frame and his ability to glide past defenders as if he were made of air. But what happened to him and his partner is a stark reminder of how deadly and silent a killer carbon monoxide can be. Let me explain. Sindelar, an Austrian football genius in the 1930s, and his girlfriend were found dead in their apartment, and what actually happened to them will blow your mind. The cause of death was carbon monoxide poisoning, a silent predator that creeps up on you without any warning. Carbon monoxide is a sneaky beast. It has a gas that you can't see, smell, or taste, which makes it a silent killer that you don't even realize is attacking you. It binds to your hemoglobin more effectively than oxygen and slowly suffocates you by preventing oxygen from reaching your organs and tissues. The scariest part is that the victims don't feel any pain. They simply fall asleep and never wake up. I know what you're thinking. How did this tragedy happen to such a celebrated figure and his partner? Well, the details are murky, shrouded in mystery and speculation. Some say it was an accident, a faulty heater leaking the deadly gas into their room as they slept. Others whisper of darker motives and suggest foul play due to Sindelar's known opposition to the Nazi regime. But the truth remains as elusive as the man himself once was on the pitch. The death of Sindelar and his girlfriend is a grim reminder of the dangers of carbon monoxide. One moment you're alive, and the next you're a part of history and leave behind a legacy wrapped in mystery. This story, as brutal as it is, serves a cautionary tale about the silent dangers lurking in our homes. It is a wake-up call to ensure our living spaces are safe, to install carbon monoxide detectors, and to regularly check our heating systems. Let the tragic fate of Matthias Sindelar and his girlfriend teach us to take these silent threats seriously, so their deaths won't be in vain. The Paperman's legacy on the field is legendary, but his untimely death off it is a stark reminder of how fragile life can be and how quickly it can be taken away by something as insidious as carbon monoxide. I'm warning you to hold your breath because the next 2 videos are gonna give you shivers. Number 2. Ocean Gate Titan submersible incident.
This is the sound that was heard.
Alright, next up is a story that is extremely heartbreaking. Do you remember the Ocean Gate Titan submersible incident from June 2023? This is about a deep-sea adventure that took a turn no one saw coming and led to a tragedy deep under the sea. So grab your favorite snack, because this story is a deep dive into one of the most sudden yet absolutely tragic events in recent history. OceanGate was this company that had a big dream to explore the deep sea like no one else had before. They built this super cool submersible called Titan, basically a small submarine designed to go really, really deep underwater, places where most people would never even think about going. Now there were 5 people on board, each with their own reasons and dreams, who decided to hop into this submersible and head down to the Titanic. Yeah, that Titanic, the famous ship that hit an iceberg and sank over a century ago. These folks wanted to see it with their own eyes, up close and personal. The crew was a mix of adventure seekers and professionals, including OceanGate CEO Stockton Rush, a famous underwater explorer, Paul-Henri Nargeolet, a businessman, Shahzada Dawood, and his son Suleiman Dawood, and an adventurer, Hamish Harding. A cool, small group of explorers, right? But here is where things get wild. You won't believe what happened next, as they say in all those dramatic stories. As the Titan was making its way down to the Titanic deep in the cold, dark waters of the North Atlantic, something went incredibly wrong. The pressure down there is crazy intense. We're talking about the kind of pressure that can easily crush almost anything. Can you even imagine what it must have been like going down there? The excitement, the nerves, and then nothing. In an instant, the Titan submersible imploded due to the massive pressure, and just like that, all 5 people inside were gone. It is a harsh reminder of how powerful and unforgiving the deep sea can be. And now you can't miss the fact I'm about to tell you. As the rescuers were 2 days into the search, there were reports of hearing a knocking sound from the ocean within the radius of the Titan. And you know the best part? Those were confirmed on day 3. But according to the Canadian Air Force, they said that they had been hearing banging from the first day and on every search flight. This gave all the rescuers hope to rescue the submarine. Unfortunately, the hope didn't last too long, and the sounds were gone too. So, why did this happen? Well, diving that deep is super tricky. The engineering behind making a submersible that can handle that kind of pressure is no joke. Even a small mistake or weakness in the submersible can lead to a disaster. And for the Titan, it seems like something just wasn't right, whether it was the design or something else, and it led to the implosion. That is brutal, is an understatement. The pressure down there is like having 3 SUVs pressing down on every square inch of you. No wonder the submersible could not handle it. Can you even imagine what the passengers went through? After everything happened, people all over the world were shocked and saddened. It sparked a lot of talks about whether these kinds of extreme adventures are worth the risk. OceanGate's dream of showing people the depths of the sea ended in a way no one wanted. Instead, it made everyone question the dangers of chasing such extreme experiences. This story really makes you think about how far we are willing to go to explore and push our limits. The OceanGate Titan incident will be remembered as a tragic reminder of what can happen when our curiosity and ambition meet the unstoppable forces of nature. So, what's your take on this? Was the adventure worth the risk? Or are there places we should just let be and leave the exploring to robots and cameras instead? Drop your thoughts in the comments and talk about it. Number 1. Byford Incident. Finally, the Byford Incident. This story is going to send chills down your spine. It's about the Byford dolphin incident, a real-life horror story from the depths of the sea. This is not just any tale, it is about the most brutal yet painless death you could ever imagine. Trust me, you won't believe what happened to these divers. So let's dive in, no pun intended. Picture this, it's the early 80s and we're off the coast of Norway on a massive oil rig called the Byford Dolphin. This beast of a machine was home to a crew doing some of the most dangerous work you can think of, deep sea diving. Now, diving deep into the ocean isn't like taking a dip in your local pool. Down there, the pressure is so intense that using regular air tanks is a no-go. Instead, these brave souls breathed a special gas mix called Trimix to survive the crushing depths. But here's the catch. If you shoot up to the surface too fast, the nitrogen in your blood goes wild, and it causes what is known as the bends. And trust me, it is as bad as it sounds. To avoid this, divers use a technique called saturation diving by living in pressurized chambers for weeks, even months, so they don't have to decompress after every dive. On November 5, 1983, something went horribly wrong. A group of divers was returning to the surface when a miscommunication led to a catastrophic mistake. They were supposed to follow a series of steps to safely re-enter the pressurized chamber, but they missed one crucial step. In an instant, the chamber explosively decompressed. The pressure difference was so extreme that it was like being hit by a truck, but faster than you can blink. The divers inside didn't stand a chance. They were gone before they even knew what happened. Victims of the most brutal, yet painless death imaginable. The aftermath was gruesome. The force of the decompression was so powerful that it was more like something out of a horror movie than real life. And do you know what the worst part was? It all happened because of a simple human error. This story is a stark reminder of the dangers faced by those who push the boundaries of human endurance and technology. It is chilling, it is tragic, and it is part of history we can't forget. So what do you think? Could you imagine facing the dangers of the deep sea despite knowing what happened to the Byford dolphin? Let us know in the comments below.